Coming up tonight, the Attorney General Ayaz Said Qayyum to open Pacific Islands Business Conference in Nadi, Fiji to host UN Procurement Conference, and the Ministry of Finance takes a little cheer to the children of St. Christopher's Home. Good evening, you're watching Fiji Today on MyTV. I'm Laisia Sakumbo. The Attorney General Ayaz Said Qayyum will open the Pacific Islands Business Conference on Regional Economic Integration in Nadi on Monday. This regional business conference, arranged by the Australian Pacific Islands Business Council with the Australia Papua New Guinea Business Council and the Australia Fiji Business Council, aims to give business representatives from around the region the opportunity to speak to each other about these challenges and opportunities, and to convey messages to governments to have a better understanding of what business needs as outcomes from the negotiating process, rather than just what the governments themselves may think is needed. PESA Plus is arguably the most significant economic and trade policy issue ever in the Pacific Islands. There is a wide spectrum of opportunity offered by PESA Plus. At its minimalist point, it could offer some minor changes to tariffs and rules of origin. At its most visionary point, it could launch the Pacific Islands countries onto a very long-term path to have a business and economic relationship with Australia and New Zealand, such as Australia and New Zealand have developed with each other since 1983 under the Australia-New Zealand Closer Economic Relations Agreement. Such an outcome would in the long run include free movement amongst all participating economies of goods, services and people. Business speakers at the conference will be representative of a range of sectors in several Pacific Islands economies. The conference is open to any individual, business, academic, media or government agency which has an interest in business and economic issues in the economies of the region. The Minister of Industry and Trade, together with the Fiji Trade Commission Los Angeles and Fiji's permanent representative to the United Nations, will host the United Nations Procurement Division Business and Vendor Registration Seminars in Fiji. The Attorney General and Minister for Industry and Trade, Ayaz Said Qayyum, said the seminar will be conducted by the United Nations Procurement Division UNDP in Suva and Lautoka between July the 18th to 22nd.
He said the objective of the seminar is to brief vendors on the procurement activities, for example, values, policies, processes, buying profile and business opportunities of the UNPD, and to register qualified vendors online by the close of the seminar. Registered vendors will then be able to bid to supply goods and services to the United Nations. Mr. Said Qayyum believes the seminar will provide an excellent opportunity for Fiji and the regional countries to become potential suppliers to the UN offices or missions in Fiji or overseas. Fiji's Trade Commissioner to the Americas, Jitendra Singh, said the first of the two seminars will be held in Suva on July the 18th and 19th, followed by Lautoka on July the 21st and 22nd. The Suva and Lautoka seminars are open to regional participation. According to the Trade Commissioner, in 2010, the United Nations procured around US $13 billion worth of goods and services. Mr. Singh said it is intended that regional participants will join Fijian delegates at the seminars. In the afternoon, an online registration fair will start for vendors wishing to supply goods and services to the United Nations and virtually in any part of the world. Registration and participation will be free of charge at both seminars. Major commodities the United Nations procures include air transportation services, chemical and petroleum products, food rations and catering, prefabricated buildings, motor vehicle parts and transportation equipment, electronic data processing equipment and maintenance, telecommunications equipment and services, rentals and leases, architecture, engineering and construction services, freight forwarding and delivery, air conditioning, heating and plumbing services, building management and maintenance, generator sets, travel and related services, security and safety equipment. Mr. Singh said the relevant vendors who meet the United Nations buying profile in the above categories are encouraged to attend the seminar and register themselves. Qualified vendors will also have an opportunity to register online before the seminar. Details of the seminar and vendor registration guidelines will soon be released by the Ministry of Industry and Trade.
Fiji's population pyramid is changing, and as the number of older people continues to increase, so do their needs. Yesterday, a consultation on the draft policy framework on the elderly in Fiji took place at the Parliament Complex in Suva. The consultation was organized by the Ministry of Social Welfare and aimed to give an opportunity to stakeholders to raise their concerns on the proposed framework. Speaking to Fiji Today News yesterday, the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Social Welfare, Women and Poverty Alleviation and the Chairperson for the Interagency Working Committee for the National Policy Framework for the Elderly, Govind Sami, said the National Policy Framework will be a living document which will accommodate the needs of the senior citizens of the country with the changing times.
Throughout the world, the number of people in the elderly category is increasing, and in response to the desire to develop a framework to look after the interests of the elderly, the Fiji government decided to develop this policy. We have international pronouncements like the Madrid Protocol and the Ottawa Declarations, which very clearly articulate the parameters of how we need to look after the interests of the elderly. In Fiji itself, the number of people in the elderly category is increasing, and their wants, the needs for them are changing, and the policy is needed to guide the government in terms of what is to be done.
The information shared from the ministry yesterday showed progress towards the development of a policy for the elderly was aligned to the Madrid International Plan of Action of Aging adopted at the Second World Assembly on Aging. Mr. Sami said the care and provision of facilities for the elderly has to be incorporated into all major development of the socio-economic sectors.
Internationally, in terms of the policy document, there are a number of issues that have been looked at, and these are issues of participation, of accessibility to health and well-being, issues of dignity and independence. Elderly people also need home and care, and as such the policy will look at ways in which we can look after these interests of the elderly.
It's going to help the elderly a lot, because the elderly people, they need safe environment, personal security, they need financial security, they need health security. We need all these services, and there are many people who have elderly people who need to be taken care of.
The Interagency Working Committee on the Elderly had pursued divisional and district consultations to spread awareness on the drafted policy framework. After the break, HIV decreed to have national board and youth groups get government grants for capacity building.